There's some very incredible changes that are occurring that challenge assumptions about the long-term survival of the academic library. Changes in technology, human behavior, and methods of teaching are welcome drivers to refocus the very concept of the academic library. This institution is re-examining its well-established traditions to collect, preserve, organize, store the artifacts of scholarship amidst reading rooms for students and faculty to discover ideas and engage together and alone in the process of forming new knowledge. Few, if any, academic libraries today can avoid the 21st century transformation, but all can contribute to conceptualizing the library as a vital learning enterprise that advances its institutional academic mission. This conference theme challenges us over these few days to conceptualize the academic library. We all are trying to formalize an idea of what the academic library currently is in order to prepare for what it will be in the future. In the next few minutes, I will share insights about transforming the academic library based on my own experiences. In 2010, I assumed my current position at Drexel University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with the assignment to define and transform the academic library for the first portion of the 21st century. By necessity and design, the process has been a very collaborative one. No one person holds the pieces to this jigsaw puzzle. I will address issues I found most influential in evolving the new concept of the academic library in hopes that this might help others approach the sometimes overwhelming assignment to do so. I've organized my comments around the context for change, the planning process, and illustration of a few initiatives to transform the Drexel University libraries. An academic library does not exist in a vacuum. It is defined by its host institution. A starting point for thinking about the library should be its institutional purpose and need to manage data and information to address academic missions and societal problems. Higher education institutions are not identical, yet most address teaching, to develop competencies and skills among learners to be self-sufficient and productive members of society, research, to create and disseminate new knowledge, and civic engagement, to contribute to solve societal problems. So why is management of data information important to the development of learning skills, dissemination of knowledge, or solving societal problems? Information underscores basic assumptions for higher education in a democratic society. An educated citizenry will be better prepared to govern and make decisions toward a better world. Systematic inquiry builds upon the work of others and ethically credits intellectual and creative property. And engaging communities of informed citizenry making intelligent decisions will improve and sustain solutions to societal problems. And the library is the organization responsible for fostering the effective links between information and people who intentionally use it. One of the standard definitions describes the traditional components of the academic library. There's an organized collection, there's staff trained to provide and interpret materials, as we just heard, there's established schedules to go into the physical facilities. However, how relevant are these four components when collections are less often owned, but rather licensed in terms of access? When staff are trained in a variety of different disciplines, and when information is accessible anytime and from any place. We all are well aware of the many influential changes itemized in a number of reports of periodic trends. For example, the Association of College Research Libraries, the Society for College and University Planners, EDUCAUSE, and I'm sure you have many organizations as well that are constantly identifying what changes are factors. So to remind ourselves that change is being rapidly ignited in response to numerous major influences such as these. I hope I translated the right side, at least modestly correct. But let's just briefly take a look at these. So obviously information and communication technologies, everybody knows this. Pedagogies in the way we learn, people learn. We're now facing MOOCs with massive free access to training throughout the world, or hybrid online and in-person training. generational characteristics, the millennials, the X generation, the born digitals, all that are coming to us with very different expectations and very different information-seeking behaviors, looking for factoids rather than arguments or looking for different forms of information. Students as well as faculty that are now utilizing information beyond their discovery for the creation and dissemination of information that they produce. Expectations for using what we refer to as the big data, the results of computational research and digital assets and activities. Uses of spaces are dramatically changing, requiring us to understand what factors contribute to the learning environment. And a growing economy, issues of the economics. The United States now we're faced with huge questions of a cost of education and the big divide between the growth in the cost of education and the slower growth of people's ability to pay for it. And there certainly are divides all over the world. So what I'd like you to do is to think about these and think in your university, in your setting, which two of these do you worry about the most in terms of what affects the future of your life? So metaphorically, in one hand, keep one idea, and in the other, keep the other. And I'm going to quickly go through these and ask you to show by vote, either first one time left and first one time right, which are the two factors that most influence change in libraries that you're facing today. Technologies. Do I have a show of hands? Pedagogies. Multiple generations, variation of type of generations. Behaviors, changes in the way people look for information. Creation and dissemination of information, the demand for that. Reuse of data, seeking how we deal with data elements. Space. And the costs, economics and cost of education. Very interesting. I'm not sure I can see everybody about here, but I think space, technologies, and cost of education went out in this one. So thank you for that. So let us turn to some aspects of planning that may help organize the way we make sense of these drivers of change. Prioritizing, whether as we just did quickly, the challenges of most concern to us, or aligning them to institutional priorities. These two priorities come from Drexel University's 5-year strategic plan, campus level. And these two areas are the ones that the library sees that can make most contribution to support our university, improve the student academic experience, and develop a focus for innovative research. 4 years ago, I was faced with no common vision for the library when I came to Drexel. With help of trained facilitators and a steering committee of faculty, staff, and students, I designed and implemented what's known as a Future Search Conference. This planning process convened nearly 60 people, representing the library's stakeholders over 2.5 days, to address the question of how the libraries advance the university's mission. The process was very engaging and energetic. It reached common understanding about the experiences with the library and stimulated creative ideas of where the library should change. The library's strategic leadership group, myself and 3 senior administrators, articulated 4 strategic directions from the many ideas that emerged in this very interesting planning process. These 4 strategic directions have guided us in conceptualizing the academic library in terms of its purpose. We build environments for change, for learning. We ensure access not just to ideas, but to authoritative information. We strengthen connection, the university's connection to scholarship, and we're modeling an organization that will be able to respond to these changes. We have found these to work well for us over the past 2 years in developing our plans for initiatives and aligning budget requests and allocations. I highlight some of our current initiatives and status in addressing these to illustrate one library's conceptualization of the academic library in terms of future. Our physical facilities are very heavily used and undersized. We have a population approaching 23,000 and expected to be 30,000 in the next year. Often students walk away because there are no seats available. We are not an institution such as the University of Chicago, which the 2 top illustrations illustrate here, that has a role to be a repository of print books and journals that require building this dual-function library, their latest contribution, which has inspiring learning spaces on top full of light, and plenty of reading area, and efficient storage underground. The major function to support learning at Drexel is being addressed by embedding the library where students live and where they work with their faculty. The Learning Terrace, illustrated here on the lower left, is an experimental facility located at the base of the dormitory, where students are empowered to take ownership of their learning. They bring their information resources, most often through laptops or cell phones, smartphones, that connect to the electronic books, the journals, and the databases that the library licenses for them. Furniture is all movable, and coaches, whether they're librarians, campus tutors, faculty, come only with very specific intentions to guide learning. Librarians also take a laptop and sit in student lounges, in classroom buildings, or in laboratories, and send notice that their expertise is available for the next hour or so, and students that need them find them. An enviable future library space is seen in the last image from the University of North Carolina State Library, where technologies are integrated into newly designed spaces to foster engaging discovery, collaborative creation, and practice. All these approaches are ways that libraries enhance the academic experience. Alongside managing the bibliographic sources we purchase or license and the historic archives we preserve, one of the most exciting challenges beginning to face librarians is to ensure access to research data. Funding requirements from the National Science Foundation, the National Institute of Health, and other U.S. government agencies, for example, now require plans to manage research data and make them available to others. In addition, new research protocols in computational research rely on reuse of existing data. This emerging e-science protocols are placing demands for institutions to create research data and digital assets. The demand offers libraries opportunities to evolve traditional practices and apply expertise to build necessary campus cyber infrastructure, collaborating with others to provide adequate hardware, software, services, as well as lead formation policies to guide change in the culture and practice for meeting these new demands. Issues long addressed in acquisitions, preservation, organization, description, and discovery of bibliographic resources now appear with new requirements among the rapid growth of data and important information about their creation, meaning, and availability. Acquisition of data from the producing researcher involves issues of trust in repositories and recognition of intellectual property. Management of data, massive and not always stable, involves issues of storage, security, and authentication. Discovery of data involves development of new metadata standards and generation of descriptors, as well as integrated searches across multiple repositories, some locally managed, others designed by associations for disciplinary data or marketed by vendors providing management services. As we develop our own understanding of what it takes to make data available for reuse, librarians are changing their relationship with faculty. Librarians need to partner with researchers, ideally during the research design stages, to provide knowledge of best practices and emerging standards to effectively ensure access to data beyond the purpose for which it was originally gathered in a research project. Conceptualizing the library's traditional role to strengthen Drexel's connections to scholarship has shifted as we examine the life cycle of information. Traditionally, we have focused our collection building, access services, and instructional efforts on the first half of the cycle. This supported the library user, the students and faculty alike, to discover sources needed to meet an articulated need for information, and to locate and to retrieve them through local access or through interlibrary loan or delivery services. Instruction focuses on guiding the learner's development of skills to be confident and self-sufficient in understanding tasks to accomplish this outcome of connecting to existing ideas. But now we are increasingly engaged with the second half of the life cycle of information, leading through the creation of new knowledge and disseminating or making available information for others to discover. The standards for information literacy have included the ethical use of information, which has been the first entree to the cycle of utilizing information. In the past year, the Drexel Libraries is assuming the role to expose the campus community to different formats of information, not familiar to those beyond work in specific disciplinary research. So, for example, 3D visualization and printing, recording oral histories, analyzing data and geographic relationships. We have a couple pilot projects to partner with researchers that are preparing their data management plans and to organize data with the intent that they will be available for others to use. Some academic libraries are actively engaged in new models for disseminating information or knowledge, whether it's paying for submission to open source journals or publishing online journals themselves, for example. But beyond all the initiatives to address the challenges facing the library is the very nature of its organization. At Drexel, we recognize the need and are actively working to model the library's organization to build capacity to respond to change. These include addressing demands for providing evidence of not only what we do, but what impact it has on the university's mission. A major challenge is showing the relationship of the library to student retention, for example. That's a successful grade point. We have introduced practices to gather client feedback through an online survey and routinely analyze results to guide initiatives to improve services. We continue to apply our values and habits of collaboration with colleagues in developing programs of high-quality service delivery, such as a shared service we've introduced recently for foreign students who are non-English speakers, offered by teams of librarians, writing experts, and language tutors working together. Managerial leadership complements administrative leadership in a matrix organization structure. Leaders have library-wide responsibilities and work with teams that include those who report directly to them as well as those who are supervised by others. Perhaps the biggest challenge we have is to recruit and train existing staff to grow the human capacity needed to transform the library. Whenever a position is vacant, we review it and often redefine it to seek the expertise and personalities to complement our staff strengths. The change in personnel is an important venue to conceptualize what the library needs to be. And for us right now, among our librarians, we are growing discipline knowledge as well as the need for greater mastery of methods of research and pedagogy to partner better with our faculty. So in summary, the value of the academic library has been defined in terms traditionally of tangible resources. The concept of the academic library, expressed as a metaphor chiseled in stone, is one of central importance. The heart of the university, as seen here over the entrance to the Yale University Sterling Memorial Library. There, the collections number over 13 million books, 500 to 700 trained staff, multiple facilities, hundreds of hours a week of time to enter. After passing daily under this branding for nearly 15 years, I moved to Drexel University, where its president 5 years earlier was quoted in the Wall Street Journal as stating his preference to have a all-digital library with no books at all. Along with his bold prediction in 2005, he also expressed his aversion to increase the annual library budget. His strategic plan didn't even mention the library, and although staff continued approachable services, taught information literacy skills, and introduced a repository, there was implied question of why the library was even necessary by 2010. And we have a new president, John Fry. And when he came, he began his strategic plan. And I asked him one day, Mr. President, you strive for a comprehensive research university. Do you want a research library? There was a thoughtful pause, and his reply to me was, the answer will come out of strategic planning. Such an opening should be accepted by us. In summary, I offer these 4 steps as helpful strategies to transform the library's role along these planning efforts. First of all, understand those drivers of change from a diverse and rapidly evolving world in which libraries exist. Secondly, use a process that engages library stakeholders to help identify what the library means. Third, develop administrative leadership within the library staff and coach them to articulate and implement strategic directions. And finally, capture evidence and evolve metrics to monitor and communicate your success. Branding of the most recent 2 academic libraries in which I've worked dramatically illustrate the challenge of change librarians face. Our current state is exciting, as it is challenging to position leadership to direct changes in the value of the library to its institution. So I thank you very much for your patience and interest. I'm very interested over the next 2 days to answer this question. So what will emerge from our conversation as we approach this challenge? Muchas gracias.